Hey, good morning. It's Sunday, April 2nd, and I'm just doing a little work while I sort of think out loud. Sometimes I do these little process videos and sort of a check-in, and I'm at the moment just gessoing both sides of this wood for preparing for a massive project that I have been working on for since September of 2022. Though I guess I've been thinking about this project since 2016. 2016, maybe 2017. I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a lot of years, and it's now 2023. And so basically, I'm doing this thing. It's probably the least exciting part of the project, but I've been thinking a lot about just life in general, and so I thought I would jabber, and you can join in or not. One of the things I've been thinking about is the physicality of wood and making art that is touchable. That seems to be a thing that's important to me right now. And this is going to be a big, there's going to be a lot of pieces. I'm working in increments of 108, so I have these like sub-series of pieces going on. The total amount of pieces for this project are going to be 972, and I'm on my second sub-series of 108. Whoops. And I initially thought I would do all 972 pieses, that I thought, I can actually release these in the sub-series of 108 each. But then as I was working in the middle of the first sub-series, as I was painting, I realized, no, I can't do that. I actually do have to release these as the massive project it actually is. So as I'm working on this and thinking about my day, as I was preparing to get this moving, the project moving along, I was thinking about my mom, because I've been going back and forth to the city for almost a year. I lived on the property with her to help my family, to help my mom navigate what is going on. And I remember when I first arrived in November of 2021, I moved back to the East Coast from Arizona, from Flagstaff, Arizona, where I've been living for about 15 years. After visiting for my mom's birthday in September of 2021, I thought, I'm coming back. So I came back, and the word was that she'd been having strokes, which I think she may have been having, but eventually what the doctors figured out was that she has a brain disease called progressive supranuclear palsy, and it's kind of like Parkinson's disease, and ALS. So it's like her body is, it's like it seizes up. Rather than shaking, she just gets tighter and tighter. And she's really, like, she has a really strong core, but like her legs don't work anymore really. And her arms are bending, and it's kind of a tough, it's tough. And eventually people with supranuclear palsy, they lose the ability to control their swallowing, and breathing, so basically what ends up happening is they end up getting food in their lungs, and the leading cause of death is pneumonia or falling. And I was thinking about, my mom was always active. She was a very active person. She liked to stay moving every day. She did something. She wasn't, not like me, like where I actually will work out or practice yoga. Like I really like doing that. But she just, she would garden, landscape, move heavy things, all of that. So now she's confined to bed, pretty much. I guess it was about, a month ago, we finally, she didn't want to she doesn't want to be hooked up to a machine or force fed or anything when she gets to that point where she can't eat. And so we filled out a DNR form, and I helped her to understand, what that would mean if, she wasn't on a ventilator or, feeding tube. And I think it like finally dawned on her, that like, oh, I'm in this process of dying. And it's like while I'm helping her, it's this interesting thing where you're like doing what you can without being too overwhelmed by feeling. And you do the things like help your mother sign a piece of paper that says, yeah, like I'm ready to die when the time comes, and I agree with her that I understand what it means. And then it's like feeling the understanding is like a whole other thing. And that's been, what I've been, I guess, kind of dealing with for the last year. Anyway, I spent a little time with her this week. I was there upstate up until November. So I was there for about a year. And then I had to say I can't do this anymore. And it took almost a year just to get insurance. For her. Now it's like even for me last week, I was also upstate to go to the dentist and to the doctor. And the day before my appointment with the doctor that I waited 6 months to go to, just, get a physical so that I can do all the things that I need to do, like, because you have to get a prescription from a doctor to, get a gynecologist or get a colonoscopy. I'm in my 50s and I've had intestinal issues in my life. It's like, anyway. The day before I was supposed to go to the doctor, I filled out all the paperwork. And they're like, oh, we no longer take your insurance. 6 months ago, they took my insurance, but now they don't. So that was canceled, and it's disheartening, the whole system. Getting my mom set up with help, in the meantime, my aunt and and my sister Laura were the ones like on 24/7 call with my mom, and we all put our lives on hold. And I thought I was going to be able to like make art while I was living there, but I couldn't because it was like every 45 minutes, you have to move her. She's got to go to the bathroom, or she's got to eat or something, like there's something that you have to do. And, people don't realize when someone who can't control their body has to go to the bathroom, it's like you have to lift them out of the bed, off the couch, put them in the wheelchair, roll them to the bathroom, lift them up, put them on the toilet. And when they're done, pull up, and also you gotta take their pants off and all that. When they're done, you pull up their pants, stand them up, have them leaning on you, leaning on something, pull up their pants, put them back on the chair, roll them back to the couch, lift them up, put them on the couch. It's like 4 lifts for one activity. And that takes like anywhere between 15 minutes and half an hour. So eventually, and we were just trying to get help, because the insurance companies are like, oh yeah. And then they're like, oh, well, actually we don't, and they get you all to sign up, which takes months and months and months. And they're like, oh, sorry, we don't have any help in your county. Like that kept happening. And it's just like insurance is, it's a bunch of crap. It's total crap. It's like just whatever they can do to stall. In the meantime, I almost lost my mind. I was feeling really suicidal. Don't have any money to see a therapist or anything. And luckily I made some friends who sort of helped me stay alive, basically. And I had to, it's a horrible feeling to say to your family, like, look, I can't help anymore. I can't do this anymore. And so, I'm realizing the extent to what I was going through, how serious it was for my own mental health. As I'm, settling into being in this studio and finally getting to work, but it took me most of my life to be like, okay, I'm an artist full time. 2019, the end of 2019, I quit my job a regular job at a university in northern Arizona, and just commit to being an artist and commit to being a musician. And I was was 48. I guess I was 48 when I committed to that. Yeah, 48. And then, shortly after the pandemic happened, but still figured out ways, and it was like I was going to go on tour as a musician. But that changed. My partner at the time and we were playing music together. We still made it work. We still made it work. And I kept making art, and we kept making music, and kind of lived through it all, and it worked. When I came out here, I tried to make art. I was doing it in fits and starts, but I never really quite I couldn't do it because I was constantly, I was caregiving for my mom. And if I wasn't, moving her around, I was on the phone with insurance companies and doctors and all of that. So I'm grateful to finally be here doing this. What I'm doing right now doesn't really look like much, but it's actually like the foundation of what has to happen before I put oil paint. I mean, I've decided this is the foundation that has to happen. So I'm doing it. And the thing is, right, like art is my income, and making this project, doing it as big as it is, it's like now I'm kind of compelled to do it, not in increments, but releasing it out to the world as a full bona fide piece of art means I'm sort of deferring my income as well. So I'm trusting, I'm figuring out how that is going to work, and that's all I can do. I've discovered that, like, when I stopped letting art be my main thing, that I fell into debt, and I'm still recovering from that process, because it was about once I got a job at an investment bank in 2004, I think, and it was like that sort of started the trajectory, which is really quite odd. I pretty much made it through my life without any debt until then, but it was like, completely not what I wanted to be doing with my life, and I didn't listen to it. And now, with so much mortality in my face, both in everyone's faces, both with COVID pandemic and with my mom, watching my mom on her last journey, we finally got hospice going as well. Got the hospice happening, or at least the wheels are in motion. The doctor has supposedly subscribed hospice care, though I don't think any of that's happening yet. It's just like, what do you do with your life? What are you gonna do with your life? As a kid, I knew exactly what I was gonna do. As a teenager, I knew exactly what I was gonna do, and I was doing it. I was in a band, I was making art, I was making music. something's shifted for me in my 30s. I think this happens to a lot of women, and I bought into this. Oh, well, I need to be married and blah, blah, blah. So I got married, and I married a guy that I knew was a disaster. I knew it was going to be a disaster, and it totally was. And basically threw away my career as a musician to be married to this guy, because he was so jealous of my being on stage, even though he himself was a musician. He just had massive issue with people looking at me. And he played into, he really magnified my fears. Not totally blaming it on him, but I let him convince me that I needed to grow up and stop following my dreams, basically. And don't be with people who tell you not to follow your dreams. That's the lesson there. We weren't married for long, but the whole the weight of a vow for me kind of threw me for a long time. It took me 14 years to get back to making music. And I left New York because I felt like I had burned my bridges. And I was really ashamed of myself. For being weak, I guess. I don't really know. For not following through, even though I knew better. Right. For not continuing to make music, even though I knew better. And going the straight route. And the straight route made me really sick. I got diverticulitis, and I knew if I stayed married to this guy that I was probably going to get colon cancer, and then I started looking at what is the colon connected to, like energetically, because I've been studying the chakras since 1989, and then I became a yoga teacher in 1996. So chakras are a big thing, and that's the first chakra. It's your right to be alive, your right to be who you are, right? Anyway, so I was denying myself in order to fit into this conventional way of being. Conventional way of being doesn't work for me. It fucking kills me. Kills me. And I'm trying to figure it out now. Trying to figure out how to live now, and I'm living. I'm grateful for every day. I'm doing this, working on this really massive project. I'm doing music as well. The music's not going as just directly as I would like it to, but everybody's in a place of transition, It's like I'm putting most of my energy into art now because this is mine. Music I always do with other people, and maybe eventually I'll get to doing things on my own. But I have 100% say in what I'm doing here. And I've never done that before. I have. I've made a lot of paintings, I've sold them, So that's not just, I guess, like any other activity is what I mean. As far as a project that's as long term, I've not done that before. Like this is like way long-term project going on here. And that means actually a dedication to not only the art, but to myself, to my own ideas, to following through and saying that this is worth it. And it's kind of funny because a lot of times as I start, I'm cycling through like, what's going on with my family? What's going on with my mom? I'm having to unplug my nervous system from all the things that are going on so that I can get to this focus. And this is sort of like a little ritual too, like, okay, here's the thing. You know, after this, after the gesso, after the ground, then I start adding the color, and that's really fun. But it's all part of it. Every part of it has its value, and I think for me, a lot of it is just this like kind of slowing down, meditative value of things that I actually need, you know. And it's, you know, as I do the process, there's progress. There's progress. But it's like, I can't measure art in like productivity, you know? I guess that's one of the things that makes it special, because there's so much concern about productivity. And yeah, I mean, we live in a physical world, like, yeah, you know, we need to eat, we need to, you know, we need to make money, we need to have relationships and things like that. And because this project is so big and so slow going, you know, I get a lot of thinking done during this process. And it's good, and sometimes I don't think at all. Sometimes I'm just doing it, listening to the birds. You can hear them out there. And I marvel that I am in New York City in a room that is basically a giant skylight. And the reason this is happening is because I am following my desire, my dream to be an artist. And these things open up for me. I guess my point was like when I tried to live a conventional life. I mean, I married someone who was an artist, but he was pretty straight-laced and controlling, and like as I'm kind of learning more and more about myself, you know, that was my choice to do, you know, that was my choice to do that. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I kind of do know what I was thinking. I wanted to be safe, and I had this idea that marriage meant safety. You know, a little bit of I didn't know how conventional some of my thinking was, but I also thought of marriage as slavery. And so that meant giving up myself, right, to this person, rather, you know, like I wanted to grow. Like I feel like relationships, right, you should, like it's very important for me to grow, right? To have spiritual growth, to support one another in, especially in creative endeavors, since I'm an artist, whether that is music or art or writing or whatever it is, mountain biking, whatever it is that makes you want to live, right? beauty with a capital B we're looking at, that your partner should support you in that and let you grow and see what happens, and that there should be like a safe it should be a safe container to experiment. That was my hope, but one of my friends pointed out that you know, you see marriage as slavery, and I think that she was correct, because that's what I saw my mom go through. You know, we learned from the best. Her whole thing was, you know, to make sure that the house is clean and there's no strife, for when the man comes home, so that when he arrives, he's just all calm and happy, and everyone else, just, whether you're happy or not, just pretend you're happy. So I can't, and I do that. I still do that in relationships sometimes. I pretend everything is okay when I'm uncomfortable, and I'm learning. I mean, it's taking me half a century to figure out that I do that, but I, you know, more and more I'm learning that that's what I do, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for anybody to do that. And you know, also it's like, as that means that, like, I'm not really being myself, right? And so then the person that is experiencing me is thinking, oh, this person is happy, and, you know, what a happy, you know, person, and how wonderful. And it's like, they don't even know who I am. And the thing is, I don't really know who they are, because they're responding to what I think is going to make them happy. So it's real fucker. It's a real fucking fucker being codependent, and it's okay. I'm learning, you know. I mean, that's what we all do. We're all learning, but like, I think that started to become ingrained in me as a kid. Like, before I hit puberty, I could be whoever I wanted to be. That's what I was always told. And then when puberty happened, and all of a sudden I was distracting for the principal of my school, and maybe some boys and some teachers. I was told that the best thing for me was to just be pretty and to not say anything, to just be quiet. Like, pretty girls aren't smart, right? So forget about science, forget about math. And, you know, honestly, like, I mean, I was good at math and science. I was, tutoring trigonometry when I was in 9th grade. And some teachers were like, yeah, you should do math and science. And I was like, no, I want to be an artist. Like, this is what I want to be. And they were like, oh, that's going to be a hard choice. I'm just trying to, you know, like that's a hard choice. Like, you have a lot of uncertainty with that. And the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of uncertainty with everything. Whether you're an artist or a scientist or a mathematician, maybe, you know, when I worked at the university, I worked in printing services. I was in marketing, and under marketing was printing services. I have a degree. I have 2 degrees. I have 1 degree in art and 1 degree in creative writing. And actually in art, if I was to break out the degree, I would have 1 degree in printmaking and 1 degree in painting. And in writing, I have 1 degree in fiction and 1 degree in poetry. So actually I have like, really look at it, like 4 degrees. I had like, I don't know, I graduated with something like 40 or 60 credits or something more than I needed. Some crazy amount. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I enjoyed it. Anyway, I was in printmaking, and like all the professors, all the researchers, deans, they had to go through us to, you know, the president of the university used us to, you know, make their booklets, their banners, their books, everything. And the overriding experience that I had with people was my job went from being this, you know, technician, project manager, which the university wouldn't give me the title for, by the way, even though I was like managing president's projects, to someone who was basically helping people calm their fears. Like everyone was afraid. Oh, almost everyone. I wouldn't say everyone. Like 80% of the people that I dealt with, no matter what their position was, they were afraid. They were afraid of losing their position. They were afraid of what was going to happen. They were afraid of they were just afraid. And so, you know, when I would answer the phones, I mean, I would do this anyway. People would like kind of launch into at first people, you know, it took a little while, but it got people to sort of trust me, because when they're always afraid that their project wasn't going to like be good, and then they'd be like, oh my God, it's amazing, you know. Hooray. But then it was like it really wasn't the fear that their project wasn't going to come out. It was like their fears about life, their fears about their jobs. Like everybody was afraid they were going to lose their job, and their health insurance and everything else. They were so afraid, and I would end up leading people in breathing exercises, or, you know, on the phone, just trying to get people to calm down a little bit, because they were so frightened. And that's not a way to live. And I remember when and at that job, you know, like I remember there being one point saying to my boss, it's job, you know. I mean, he was good about work-life balance, but a lot of positions aren't. A lot of it's like you give your life to the job, and that is that. I very often was just helping people, like, you know, like quietly listening and helping people work through anxiety. It was incredible. And I was like, this is wrong, that people should be experiencing so much fear in their lives, right? Especially at a university. But that was just the energy of it, and I was like, wow, you know, that I makes me sad, you know. But I experienced that fear when I couldn't stand my job my job could have been fine at the investment bank, but like I was dealing with some intense personalities. It was as well. It's like if I wasn't dealing with, I had a boss who was just angry. It was weird. And he sat directly across from me. It was an open floor plan. It was a trading floor. And he would just stare me down on a daily basis. And then I'd go home and my husband would stare me down too, the same exact way. It was so weird. And, you know, I don't experience that in my life anymore. I don't know what I was attracting that back then. But, you know, fear is a fucker, man. It's a real fucker. And, you know, sometimes I'm fearful myself, but, like, I guess actually that's like, you know, the driving energy of codependence is fear. I guess I just experience it in different places. But I don't know where I'm going at. This is just part of what happens when I'm making things. My mind kind of goes all over the place. You know? And I think though the thing, like, ultimately, right, is if you can let go of fear for a little bit, you can start to experience miracles. And this morning I wrote in my journal that you know, I've been experiencing a lot of grief, you know, like just kind of watching my mom deteriorate, basically. And there's nothing we can do about it, and we all get old, and we all get, if we get old, yeah, that's a miracle, right? Already. But, my energy is not 100%. I'm not at 100% functioning. Like, I can do some of this I can paint for a little while, and it takes a lot of energy, and the kind of the reason it does, and it's just, I'm doing this, like, when I'm actually, like, painting, I'm not gonna be fucking talking. Because you're creating something out of nothing. That takes a lot of energy. That's not just like something you just go, ta-da! It takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort. It's like, you know, there are so many ideas that I have that I don't even act on. Like this, I was thinking about for years and years before I finally started doing it. And it was because I was going for a walk, and there was piles of wood in the forest. People just like thrown out, or like were waiting to find to get like a dumpster or something. So I was like, oh, now it's time for me to start doing that project, I suppose. Universe is, it's like I kind of I have fun looking around going, oh, universe is saying, okay, it's time. Here's a pile of wood. You cut these up and you've got like a couple hundred pieces. And that's exactly what I did. I was like dragging pieces of wood from the forest like back home, and using a power saw to cut these pieces up. That process alone, and I don't have all the pieces cut yet. I still have to get more wood. And then there's these people across the street from my aunt's house who are building a deck, and they have end pieces I haven't seen them around, but when I do, I'm gonna ask them, hey, can I take your scrap wood? Because this is the part of the project is upcycling the wood. So I think I have about 400 pieces cut, so I don't know, almost another 600 to cut. And that is also very physical, because it's like you take the saw and you're moving your arm, and then sanding. Actually, sanding is the hardest part of this whole project. But anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, I was saying I'm not 100%. Not 100%. My energy isn't 100% here. I guess I am. I mean, I'm 100% in my experience, for sure. It's just that, like, as far as productivity goes, I'm not 100%. I'm in the middle of grief. I'm one of the people, like, walking my mother through the final stages of life. And, you know, I've had to deal with my own feelings of, like, wow, I couldn't do it 24/7. I was doing it 24/7, and it was dangerous for my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So we have some people that come in and help now, but if you're not, like, insanely wealthy in this country, fuck, do not get sick. That's all I'm saying. Because you will get the fucking, and people who are wealthy also get the runaround. But it is definitely something where you are spoken to like like you're a piece of shit. Basically. You know, I don't know how many times I've been on the phone and had, you know, receptionists at the doctor's office be fucking assholes. I'm like, wow, isn't your job to be polite? I mean, I didn't say that to them, but it's like, you know, like, this is hard for me to pick up the phone. This is like the 5th phone call I've made today, and I'll tell you what, each phone call is like a sword in my fucking heart, okay? And that's how it was for me. Maybe some people can, because, you know, maybe some people can do it, but like that was my experience, and eventually I couldn't do it anymore. Thank goodness, like, my sister and I are kind of like a tag team. After a few times of saying I'm going to kill myself, I finally just said I gotta leave, and I left. Because I'm too curious. I'm not ready to die. And I've had friends kill themselves, and it's really fucking devastating. You know, it's devastating. So anyway, maybe this isn't the happiest video, but what I was going to say was, the thing about not being 100% or having to slow way down, which is the thing, I've had to slow way down. And I don't know if is that one, I have to make choices on, like, what I'm doing, who I'm hanging out with, the activities. I can't just say yes to everything. And that's just in general. You can't say yes to everything and expect to, like, move forward in your life. So I've had to not say yes to everything, even things that seem like they're going to be fun. And I'm starting to figure out, like, where am I committed to things that I don't need to be committed to? Like that, I'm starting to sort through now. Certain projects that have stalled. Like, why do I keep showing? Like we either move the project on or I move off the project. You know, especially when they aren't mine. I didn't originate them. You know, it's like. But to keep my tendrils of energy going isn't good. There's that. And two, the other thing I noticed is that, like, I'm very aware of small miracles, of these like everyday miracles when I have to slow down or when I choose to slow down. I can say I'm choosing to slow down, but honestly, I have to slow down, otherwise I don't function at all. And acknowledge that, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of grief. And it's not just over my mom, but, you know, I left a life behind in Arizona. I left friends behind. And I have some friends I've reconnected with here, and I'm making new friends, but, like, I didn't reconnect the way I'd hoped. And it's partly just because I've been so consumed in the last year. I've been consumed by, you know, caregiving. And now I'm coming out into the world again, very slowly. And it's just how it is. It's slow. You know, everybody has their lives. You know, we're all in the middle end stages of our lives now. We're in the middle of it. You know, like my old friends, we're not 25, we're not 30 anymore, you know. I've been gone for a long time. Some of us are still at making art, others of us have gone other directions. Some of us have kids that are all grown now. Some of us have young kids. It's like it's a wild thing, you know. But it's at the same time it's so cool because there's so much opportunity to just keep inventing my life, and that's what I'm doing. And also, but there's also all this experience tied in with it. So the cool thing about not being 100%, having to slow down, is the small miracles. Like, oh, this miracle happened yesterday. I went into the city, maybe gonna go to a show, and I took a train from Brooklyn, and the trains are not running regularly on the weekends. Yippee, they're local. So instead of it taking 20 minutes, it takes like 45 minutes to get into Manhattan. I get to Manhattan, I'm exhausted. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna walk around, enjoy the weather a little bit. I'll go grocery shopping, go home. So that's what I do. And on the way home, the train breaks down. Like, I wait for the train. And I wait. And I wait on the train platform. So I waited for like 45 minutes for the train. The train comes, get about 4 stops in and it stops, and suddenly it smells like melting rubber or plastic, and we're just sitting there. And finally, and you know, another train comes, some people get off the train that we're sitting on and go onto the other train. I think about it, but I don't do it. And then they go, this train is not working, please, another train's directly behind us, get off the train. So got off the train, and then another train across the platform came. I'm like, screw it, I'm not gonna wait for the same train. So I just get, you know, because it's like a little bit, I had a little bit more to walk, but I didn't buy too many things, so I could carry what I had. And I get on the train, and I see my drummer from this band Powder I used to be in. And we were friends, and like, you know, that was like when I got married, like when everything fell apart and I was in this band, and the band was like going very quickly, like things were quickly happening, and I chucked it all away, you know. There she was, and so we got reconnected, and you know, I kind of wrote to her my story a little bit, told her how ashamed I felt, so that was already out of the way, so I was really grateful for that. And you know, she's like, she's got to be at least in her 60s, if not, you know, like late 60s, you know, if not 70s. And she's still drumming, and she is a teacher, and she is one of the best drummers I know. And it was so cool, and she's a neighbor, so yeah, I'm starting to get reconnected with people. So small miracle, maybe that's why the train broke down. Anyway, I'm gonna go out now. Have a great day.